Hyper Dave. All right, you guys. I'm. I tried to film my review of 1917 last night after the movie, and it didn't upload. I don't know why. I'm not a technically advanced person. I don't know what the problem is. Rather than fiddle with that again, I'm attempting to do a live stream. And the last time I did live stream, it crashed 4 times. So 6 in one hand, 6 in the other hand. Eventually I'll have all these bugs worked out. When, I don't know. You guessed it, yeah, I guess, yeah. What's the problem? Please, Dan, tell me what the problem is. Because I need help. Don't answer that. I need help. All right, you guys. Went and saw 1917 last night, and stared at the screen. Once I got there, I stared at the screen for a half an hour. And that's because they were having technical difficulties of their own. I thought, I'm gonna have to go home. They're gonna reimburse me for the money I paid. I'm not gonna get to see it. But as it turns out, I did get to see it. And if this crashes, don't worry about it. It'll upload at some point, and you can watch it at a later point. This isn't necessarily meant to be an interactive thing. I'm just trying to get something out here. But also feel free to interact, if that makes any sense. Staring at the screen for a half an hour, having my popcorns eaten, ready for this thing to start. And I was struck by, sitting there with nothing better to do, I was struck by the amount of young people that were there. And you might say, well, sir, you are yourself not necessarily old. Well, I'm 46. So compared to somebody that's, say, 16, 17, 18, yeah, I'm old, they're young. And that's what I saw. I was impressed and a little confused. I'm not sure where the overlying interest came regarding the big turnout of young folks. I don't know if there was a particular actor or actress in there that would have piqued their interest. Or what, but be that as it may, a lot of young people there, so I guess that's a hopeful thing, right? Hope for humanity, that there would be an interest in something like this. Yeah, I'm old. Okay, all right, fair enough, I'm old. So once the movie started, the first thing that I noticed was being the camera right in the faces. So there's that immediate, you're thrown in there, claustrophobic feeling, kind of maybe tension producing. And then the next immediate thing that I noticed was movement. And that theme, which it is a theme, stuck with me throughout the majority, if not the entire, from beginning to the end of the film. Movement. Which might sound ironic or weird, because when one takes just a glancing, passing view of World War I, what are the immediate things that come to mind, right? The stagnating trench warfare, not a lot going on, what you might come to expect with a movie like this, but that was not the case. Movement. Now, this was filmed, I had read, in one continuous take, one single shot, which is impressive if that was the case. I didn't see anything that led me to believe that was not the case. That's a big deal. It's not easy to do, very challenging. So there's the movement of the camera, there's the movement of your two primary characters that you're introduced to in the beginning. And it just keeps going throughout the movie. And if it's not the camera or your primary characters, you've got fire moving in the background. And believe it or not, there were pockets of unmolested territory that had cherry blossoms and leaves blowing in the wind. So wind, more movement. If you look at the sky, it's because we're watching biplanes go across it. More movement, and all of this is an ongoing theme throughout the movie, which I found interesting. What else? I got a few show notes here. So the movement. Another thing I'll add is if you want to take your sweethearts to see this, Are they going to be bored to death? I would say no. This is not technically a war film. It takes place during and in a war. And I wouldn't even necessarily call this, no Zeppelins. Were there any tanks? There was and I'll do my best not to give away any spoilers intentionally, so you guys are okay. The only tank, and I think it's safe to say, the only tank I saw was a tank that had crashed into a giant shell hole. I think that was the only tank I saw. Zeppelins, no Zeppelins. So you fans of Zeppelin Raider, no, you're not going to see any of that. But strictly speaking, this is not even a historical film, which might sound odd, but it's not. It's a story. You guys got to remind yourself as you're going through this, it's a story. It's not history. It takes place during a historical event, but it's not history, it's a story. So, and especially for you guys that are going to go see this and go, they didn't have that gun during this time on that day, and all that stuff, and they didn't wear that pack on that side of the shoulder. You're going to ruin it for yourself. That's not, you're going to disappoint yourself. This film's a story. It's an adventure, if you will, that follows two primary characters and one specifically, and it's pretty riveting. Now, I'll get into that in a second. So yeah, there's that, and then yeah, so you don't have to be a fan specifically of World War I or even war to enjoy this film. That stuff's happening, but it's not incumbent on that. It's not. It doesn't necessarily hinge on that. There's this underlying adventure of your primary characters, which could be juxtaposed into anything. So that said, I guess I could add that inevitably the Germans are bad shots. That's to be expected as well. If the Germans in this movie are good shots, we're not going to have a movie. We're not going to have a story. So they are by design bad shots, and you know most movies are like that, right? What else do we got? And if you're foaming at the mouth for huge pitched battle scenes and one side slugging it out with the other, you're probably going to be disappointed in that respect too. Remember, this is pretty much an adventure film